Well, very cool, Mark. Welcome to another episode for the American Airlines and even other airlines that use Fidelity for 401k. Today, we're going to talk about the brokerage arm or brokerage link for Fidelity. Is that what they call it, Mark?
Yeah, the brokerage link is opens up the window to get away from just the company available options to basically almost an unlimited amount of investment options. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about how to do that, and then maybe some of the pros and cons of kind of opening up that Pandora's box there, Charlie.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah. Let's jump right in, and I'll share my screen. We can take a look at a little presentation we've put together. We've had to sanitize the information a little bit just to protect the identity. But Mark, this is kind of what it looks like, and I'll let you take it from here. I don't have a Fidelity 401k like you do, but
Sure.
go ahead. What do you think? What are we looking at
Yeah,
here?
well, we're looking at the top screen when someone logs into net benefits. They'll usually be brought to a home screen, and then across those tiles starting summary contributions and investments.
Yeah.
If someone were to click on investments, it's
Hmm.
a pretty simple process, by the way, to actually open up a brokerage link if someone hasn't done it. Um, and then it basically walks you through, hey, steps 1, 2, and 3. You can learn more. They've got some disclosure stuff, which I think is always important, and I think you'll touch on that in a little bit, talking about fees and the costs of doing this stuff. And then really you're just clicking on open up an account.
Nice. All right. This is the information you were talking about, just putting in who you are. And my impression, Mark, is that your 401k already has most of your information. They just want to confirm a couple things.
Yeah,
And
I
they
think
kind
this
of
is some
walk you through that.
regulatory requirements saying that you're not a board member of certain companies.
That's right.
How does the SEC categorize you as an investor? So
Mhm. Excellent. Yeah. Like you said, pretty straightforward. Let's see. All right. This is kind of all blocked out, so I apologize for that. But just to protect identities and personal information, looks like the review screen.
most of this stuff will auto populate. It's
Hmm.
just we're just reviewing and confirming. Is all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is one where people can probably feel like, hey, there's a lot of stuff in here and I don't want to spend time, but there is some very important info buried in these disclosures.
See if I can show
Again, I
this.
think it's just
So yeah.
yeah.
So Mark, this is what we do. Like normal people don't look at disclosures and fine print, but there's a saying that we believe, Mark, it says, "What the big print giveth, the fine print taketh away." So
There's a lot of truth to that one, Charlie. No,
I don't know why we had to use Old English, but it seems to be true. And this one is one that caught my eye. But what about this
Yeah.
one?
Depending on what your investment gets categorized, one-time repeated purchases, they could be charging you, up to $75 per transaction, depending on what it is. So again, the fine print taketh away. So the unsuspecting person who's like, oh, great, I opened up this brokerage link, I can do whatever I want. Sure. But it might cost you. So just be aware of what you might be getting into. Right, Charlie?
Absolutely. I think the lesson there too is just look for these the acronym there. We got to use acronyms. It's
Yeah.
NTF, no transaction fee. Look for those because the transaction fees are not terrible if you're trading large chunks of money and you're not trading that often, which is actually what we recommend doing anyway. But usually there's plenty of no transaction fee funds
Sure.
that you can use that are great quality, and so those are just fund companies that have an arrangement with Fidelity where they have permission, and I don't know all the exact details of the arrangement, but they don't charge a trade fee. So that's good. All right. The other thing I'll just quickly say is trusted contact is kind of important, and that allows people to select a person that Fidelity could contact them if they had any kind of suspicion of fraudulent activity on your account. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to take advantage of there. So I would look at more into that if I were signing up for this. In fact, you can do that regardless, and IRAs and even 401ks allow that. Okay, I don't think there's anything too terribly shocking on this one. You're just signing the electronic agreement and opening the account.
Yeah. this happens pretty quick. I think within a day or two, the actual brokerage is created, and you have basically a new sub account under your net benefits. So
Mm-hmm.
you uh, someone who's logging into their 401k through net benefits will see their overall account balance,
Mm-hmm.
and then there'll be a kind of a sub account if you wanted to dig into what's potentially there. Now, initially, nothing's going to be there because we just opened up the account, and I don't know if you wanted to talk about a little bit of the process of transferring money into that, or save that for another.
Yeah,
another
it's hard
video,
to
Charlie.
demo that on this one, but
Sure.
like you see on the screen, you're going to hit fund account,
Yeah.
and then Mark, like you've mentioned before, you're just going to make a selection to move money from we call it the core 401k, the non-brokerage, into the brokerage, and then you'll be able to make trades from there. But
Sure.
that would be the only final steps here to the brokerage account.
I think maybe another time, Charlie, we can
Yeah,
make another video about maybe the mechanics of, step-by-step process of
yeah,
funding the account, and then also selecting future investments.
perfect.
How to we need to keep at least 5% into that core, as you
Yeah.
mentioned,
Hmm.
and you could put up to 95% into the brokerage link. But
Yeah.
depending on how people wanted to structure it, there's the kind of that one-time transfer in my existing account balance, and then how do I want to fund it in the future? We can maybe step through that another
Yeah,
time.
that'd be a good phase two, if you will.
Yeah,
Always calling this number is helpful if you have any
sure.
issues. And this also applies to other airlines. I know we're talking American Airlines here, but Delta has this, UPS, and so you mentioned 5% is required. That might change from airline to airline as well, and I don't know the exact requirements at each one.
So why would somebody want to open up a brokerage link? I think
Yeah,
that's a good question.
right.
For many clients, they're satisfied with I'll call it 30 potential funds that are available to them through their core fund. One of the advantages of that, I think, is choice overload. If you've got an unlimited amount of potential investment options, you can almost be paralyzed by choice. So there is an advantage of having limited choice. And I think there's an ability to build a diversified portfolio with most companies' options that are
Mhm.
there. So if that's the case, why would someone want to open up a brokerage link? I think is a pretty appropriate question.
Yeah.
Some of it might come down to the fees that are
Mhm.
buried in there. So some of those target date funds, while they can provide novice investors and a good entry point to where do I start.
Yeah.
Well, those are kind of funds of funds, and there's fees on top of fees associated
Mhm.
with it. So that's something to be aware of. And, they don't really take into account people's individual risk tolerance and capacity. So just because me and you might have the same retirement year, we might not have the same ability to tolerate risk, and we might not have the same, behavioral
Yeah.
characteristics that would allow us to make different investment choices. What else do you have to
Yeah.
say about that,
Yeah,
Charlie?
that's good stuff, Mark. You and I are a good example of that. You're going to
Yeah,
have a Marine pension, and I'm not. So
yeah,
you could be more, excuse me, you could be more aggressive than a target date of your retirement date. And maybe I don't want to be because of those other circumstances. The other
sure.
thing I like what you said is the fees. If you really wanted to, you could go to the brokerage account or the brokerage link,
Hmm.
and you could cut your fees by more than half
Yeah,
as far as the internal fees on the target dates. And but the other side of that coin is exactly what you said. I want to share something, Mark, real quick, because the other side of that coin is the choice overload that is possible. And so oftentimes what we see, Mark, is people get excited about Tesla. They get excited about Facebook. And man, I want it. I got to have it. And so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing some of those extra things. But personally, I would do that in your regular taxable brokerage account, save up a little fund, save extra, and do that somewhere else. But what happens is sometimes people do that here in their brokerage account, brokerage
yeah,
link, and I think this is a great spot to kind of issue a little bit of a warning and say that, hey, look, this statistic, diversification in the average investor, they keep track of this every year and they
yeah,
update it. And it changes a little bit, but not much. So for the last 20 years, the average investor is right here,
yeah.
3.6%. And 2002 to 2021, they updated every year.
Yeah.
So this is terrible, and this is applicable to the brokerage link. So you got to be careful, because sometimes we leave something in this area over here. And even a 60-40 portfolio, look at that, has done almost twice, or maybe, it is twice as good as the average investor. Now, go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say, does JP Morgan have some insights or suspect why that is? Is this performance chasing?
Good question.
Is this being too concentrated and not diversified? Is this, what do you think, Charlie?
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So it is not being diversified, but it is mainly performance chasing. So what happens is people are like, man, I gotta have Tesla. So I'm going to go buy it in my brokerage link. It's the only place I've got money. So to, possibly. And so people do that. So they chase that performance, and it comes back to bite you sometimes if you're always chasing performance. And like you said, the opposite happens too, where if it goes down, I'm selling out of it. So typically investor behavior, we all know this, we've heard this before, is I'm buying high because the price is going up, man. I'm excited. I want in that. And then when the price goes down, I sell it. So I'm buying high, selling low over and over and over again, which is the exact opposite of what we want to do. And so that's a word of warning. The other word of warning, Mark, that I'll give is that we're talking to pilots here, and there's also a behavioral bias that's commonly studied. It's called the overconfidence bias. Now, pilots are not overconfident, right? We're not overconfident. That's not possible.
That trait makes us successful in the flight deck, right? But
that's right.
Maybe not always in our brokerage window, huh?
So that's right. So if you polled every pilot and said, "Are you above average pilot?" everybody would say they're above average. That's been studied before. We know it's not possible that everybody's above average. There's got to be an average, right? So that's something just to be cautious of and know thyself. So that's worth sharing. But I think that's the crux of what I wanted to kind of share as far as, hey, why do you want to do this? What are some things to watch out for? We talked about fees. We talked about performance chasing. We talked about our own behaviors to use caution when we go into these brokerage links. And so you got to weigh those pros and cons. Do I stay in the core 401k portion? Do I open this brokerage link? And will it help me to be successful?
So Charlie, what do you think some rules of thumb or some basic guidance for someone who wants to open up a brokerage link to, I think you said it, maybe just not pick individual stocks as a, that would probably be the most, conservative, hey, let's not do any quote unquote speculating inside of our brokerage link. But let's just say that the call of the siren was too strong and someone said, yeah, but I really want to. How could we guard against maybe going down that slippery slope too much?
That's a great question. So I think you kind of nailed it. Don't do individual stocks. I mean, that's just my preference, my opinion. You can always do, if you like Tesla, if you like Facebook, those are tech stocks. Those are whatever category they come in. They're usually in the tech sector. And that's what's been on fire up until now. They're actually getting hammered right now. Facebook is down like 70% this year, I believe, along with Netflix, possibly, depending on the day you look. So I think if you had to do this, and it was just, you had to get into that investment wise, first of all, have an account outside your 401k. It's a brokerage account. You can do whatever the heck you want. And it's speculative. You're just making a speculative bet. We don't know. Buy an ETF. QQQ is an ETF representative of this tech sector. If that's what you wanted to do, it's a little more diversified. It's less likely to go out of business. Like some of the other ones can. Like Facebook right now, Netflix is the same. They've taken a big hit in 2022, and we don't know if they're coming back, Mark. We really don't know. They could either be the best buy, the best bargain you'll ever get on a great stock, or you might buy into it and it may never come back. That's just unknowable right now. So that's the thing to watch out for.
I'm sure a lot of people in the 2000, looking at Cisco, had to face a similar dilemma. Is this thing ever coming back from its, all-time high? So, it's something we just don't know.
Absolutely, man. I would encourage people to look at your other videos, where you talked about the score, the meter there that's available to people on their Fidelity 401ks. What's
Hmm.
entailed in that? What does it tell you? Because there's some good stuff there. Again, we do that for our clients, and we're very thorough with understanding what that result means and what their future might hold based off of the savings and some return assumptions as
Yeah.
well. So that's a big process. And again, I think if somebody wants to go down this path, there can be some advantages, but I think there's got to be some homework too to go along with it.
Sure. I think that retirement score is a good initial wag at
Yeah,
what, how well am I doing? Because that's usually kind of a lingering question for in many
yeah,
people's mind of how am I really doing and how well is it going to do? How well are my investments going to provide for my
hmm,
future? And, there's different levels of sophistication that can be brought to the table to kind of what
absolutely,
if and all that. But yeah,
absolutely.
for another time, we can go down that one. But thanks for
Yeah,
touching on it, Charlie.
absolutely, Mark. Man, appreciate the knowledge today. And reach out to us. You can go to info@leadingedgeplanning.com or mark at leadingedgeplanning.com. And my email is charlie@leadingedgeplanning.com. So check us out. If you have any questions about American Airlines 401ks and these brokerage links, Mark's the man for that. We also talked in another video about the mega backdoor Roth 401k, whether you should pick Roth or non-Roth. What does that index, what does that score mean there on your website as well? Mark, we went into some great detail on that. So reach out. We'd love to hear from everyone, and let us know if we can answer any questions. Thank you very
Good
much.
talking to you, Charlie.
Leading Edge Financial Planning LLC is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where LEFP and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. For additional information, please visit our website at www.leadingedgeplanning.com. The information provided is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, and it should not be relied upon as such. It should not be considered a solicitation to buy or an offer to sell a security. It does not take into account any investor's particular investment objectives, strategies, tax status, or investment horizon. You should consult your attorney or tax advisor. The views expressed in this commentary are subject to change based on market and other conditions. This video and audio may contain certain statements that may be deemed forward-looking statements. Please note that any such statements are not guarantees of any future performance, and actual results or developments may differ materially from those projected. Any projections, market outlooks, or estimates are based upon certain assumptions and should not be construed as indicative of actual events that will occur. All information has been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but its accuracy is not guaranteed. There is no representation or warranty as to the accuracy, reliability, or completeness of, nor liability for decisions based on such information, and it should not be relied upon as such.